Hey, welcome into Fearless Flipping. If you're checking this out, it's because you want to learn more about real estate investing, A through Z, the whole 9 yards. And I am so excited for what you're going to be hearing today. You're going to thank me after listening to this interview with Matt Garabedian here in Fresno, California. Matt is a part of Matt Buys Houses. He's been doing this business since 2008 and really got into real estate investing in 2010, been a part of real estate since 2008. But Matt has amazing knowledge about wholesaling, about real estate investing in general. Here in 2019, halfway through the year, he's already done 60 wholesale deals, and since 2015, he's flipped 50 homes. He also has 14 rentals of his own, and at the end here, you're going to get an opportunity to go check out Matt's courses at our show notes, which is fearlessflipping.com/Matt Buys Houses. Let's get you straight to this amazing interview with Matt Garabedian. It is really amazing how many big-time investors are right here in our own backyard, and this is another perfect example of one. Matt Garabedian here with Matt Buys Houses, and this guy is a rock star. We're going to get to that in a second. Before we do, we've got to jump into those Fearless 5. The first question, Matt, what is your most interesting or maybe weirdest real estate story in your 7 or 8 years of doing this thing?
Well, I don't have a weird story, but most interesting, I think everyone could look back at. And if you're in the business long enough, you're going to have this story about the one deal that changed your life. And we're all one phone call away. We're all one deal away from really changing your life. And that's my best story because it literally happened to me. And just for details, or save the details, it's, I got a referral that actually walked in, and it was a 17-unit apartment complex. And partner and I took it down. We ended up rehabbing them and repositioning it, and we both ended up selling it. And we cleared like $500,000.
Oh my gosh!
So we each got $250,000. And what was really interesting about that is we took the deal subject to. So everything lined up. It was like a unicorn deal. Perfect interest rate, perfect debt to income. We got the property subject to with very little down. And we just turned it, and we sold it. That was back in 2016 or 2015.
Okay.
Right before really the market kind of shot up. But it was a deal that allowed me to do many different things, and it elevated my business.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's my favorite story.
I like that story too. I think we all want that story.
Yeah.
Really quick backup question: that how did you find that one? How did it come to you?
So my background is in when I first started in property management, and I networked with people that did evictions. I networked with people that were landlords and help people get bad tenants out. So it's like a natural hello. These people are dealing with motivated sellers all the time. Mm-hmm. They're not necessarily investors. They're just there to do evictions. So by doing business with each other, that person came into my office and said, "Hey, these people are struggling. They need to sell the property quick. Mm-hmm. It's an NOD." So, we pulled it out in NOD and took it subject to. Wow. And so I'm telling you, like, all the stars aligned on that. So it wasn't like these come out of nowhere. Yeah. But it was a relationship. To answer your question, a relationship.
That's really awesome. Okay, so what's your favorite part about real estate investing?
I mean, the freedom.
Yeah.
I can literally show up anytime I want. No one's telling me where to go when I have to be there. No one's controlling my income, only, what I put out there and work for.
Input equals the output.
Yeah, I mean it's a can response, right? Mm-hmm. You get that freedom. Well, if you look at any degree of success and you boil it down to its basis, everybody wants time because that's the commodity we can't buy. Absolutely. We all get 24 hours. If the Lord's willing, He gives us another 24. What are we doing with it? How can we maximize the time? And real estate allows you to do that.
That's awesome. You're doing a ton of deals. What is your favorite way to market to get those deals?
Oh, direct mail.
Direct mail.
Yeah, that's really where I've learned the business, and I started. That's what I was taught. So I just have tried to revamp and get better at that. And it's always an ongoing process. If you're in direct mail, you understand.
Yeah,
it's a moving target.
Absolutely. Okay, and then did you go to college? And if so, what did you study?
Yeah, I went to Long Beach State.
Okay.
And I graduated with a bachelor's in philosophy.
Philosophy. Okay.
Yeah, it's a real.
Where was that going to go?
I don't know. At the time, I thought, I sold myself on the idea that I wanted to be an attorney, and philosophy majors were critical thinkers, and they can read quickly, analyze, interpret, write an essay that is complete BS but still get a score an A. So you develop some skills in a sense of critical thinking, reading, comprehension, deeper thinking, right? Like not everything is as it appears to be. So I took some of those skill sets and I'm like, oh, I could, become an attorney, and that never happened. But I think going back, like, is it like crucial for me to have it? No, but were there advantages to it? Yeah.
That's awesome. So we're filming this right now. It's June 2019. When we release this, it's going to be in July. But I say that because I need to let people know you've already done 60 wholesale deals, you and your team, and you got a great team.
Yeah.
Take me from point A when Matt decided I'm going to be a real estate investor to today, and maybe even a little bit before that. Like, just I want to hear the story. I want to know exactly where Matt came from.
Okay. Yeah, I'm born and raised in Fresno, and my whole life was spent on the athletic field. So I went to Tenaya Junior High, then Bullard High School. So if you know anything about the Valley, those are competitive. Like, you go to Tenaya to go to Bullard, just like you go to Kasner to go to Clovis West, right? So, and in those programs are like highly competitive baseball programs, football programs. So it's a full-time commitment. Mm-hmm. And I just found myself gravitating towards the athletic field, playing football and baseball ever since I was, pretty much in 6th grade. So like my whole, high school and summers were filled with sports, fall and spring, summer. And during the summer it was baseball, on a traveling team or whatever. And I didn't ever really think about what I wanted to do when I grew up. Mm-hmm. It was just like, and I never thought like, oh, I have this, like crazy idea that I'm going to go pro in any sport. Like I was really down to earth, and I knew like, hey, I might be able to get to the college level, and beyond that, like there's probably not a chance. But, I wanted to go to play college baseball. And so I just focused on that, and I spent all my time in that. And, my parents were able to do a little, in terms of, pay for coaches or private lessons or whatever to help me advance. And, going out and getting in front of college recruiters and going on to college campuses and like showcasing your skills, like that was my life. And, I ended up, making that dream come true. I went to Long Beach State in 1999, and they were the #2 baseball team in the country going into my year there. So it was a very competitive. It was a very competitive team division. We played, USC, UCLA, all the big time schools, Texas, and anyone you can imagine. And like they're a college baseball powerhouse. And that was my life, like, being able to go and have friends that you have close friends that are going to USC at the same time, and he's playing on USC's team, and we're playing against each other in college, and it was, it was just like, wow, like this is really cool. And so I just enjoyed my time as a college athlete, and not ever thinking about, hey, this is, I mean, I knew it was going to come to an end, but I didn't understand what that really meant.
Sure.
So that day came, and, I just wanted to make money. I answered an ad in a local Orange County Register down there, and it said, like amazing sports management job, or like make as much money as you want. I'm like, wow, like this is amazing. Well, I show up, and it's actually an interview to go door-to-door sales for a door-to-door sales company.
Okay.
And each week we'd be selling something different. So week 1 we're selling Pizza Hut coupons. Week 2 we're selling door-to-door laundry. Week 3 we're selling some other random, like only like a housewife would want to buy, right?
Okay.
But for whatever reason, I loved it. And we would literally like show up in this neighborhood, and they'd give you a list of addresses, and you're taught, to start, getting rid of the no's. Because we knew by 4:35 the decision makers come home, which are the breadwinners, the husbands, and they're the ones that are going to say, okay, let's buy that Pizza Hut deal, or let's buy that laundry because the wife's been home all day saying, it's a great deal, right? Mm-hmm. So the people with the money and the decision makers get home after 5, so you got to get rid of all of your no's so you're not wasting time and narrow in on your 7 or 8 qualified prospects. Like, hello, like this is sales 101.
Right.
But I didn't realize that at the time. I was just enjoying the opportunity of going to talk to people, like selling it, like it turned into a game because I took my athletic, background and leadership and motivation and competitiveness into that realm. So I called my parents and they're like, I'm not going to. They wanted me to go get my master's degree. I'm like, I'm not going to do it. I found this great job, and like my parents like flipped out. They're like, what are you talking about? You're a door-to-door salesman. I'm like, I don't care. I can make like $1,000 a month or something. It was like some small amount, but to me it was a huge amount of money.
Absolutely.
I'm like, like I could change my life, and they kind of talked me off the ledge, and I ended up going through this program and getting almost a master's or a doctorate degree, a master's degree, and I stopped short of it just because I wasn't really into it. I didn't think that was the answer, and so now I'm in Fresno. I moved back. I'm in Fresno, and I start like taking odds and ends jobs, like because I still want to get into pharmaceutical sales guys make $90,000 a year. Like
Right.
let's interview. So I tried to get into that. Like no one would want to hear anything that I'd had to say because I had no sales experience. And I think the guy did this like sell me this pen deal in an interview. I totally botched it.
Is that like the number one question that everyone asks?
I think it's kind of funny, but I remember like trying to tell them, well, it's blue and it writes really well, and they're like, get this guy out of here. So I was kind of like in limbo, and I'm making this longer, so I apologize.
That's okay.
But make a long story short, I have a friend back in college who's getting into the wholesale mortgage industry. So what that means is we were wholesaling subprime mortgages. So I learned about, my background was in like real estate finance, okay? When I first started. That was my first introduction into the language of real estate. What's finance? What's a LTV? What's a DTI? So I got some practice in that, like understanding credit reports and like how does the finance move through the real estate business, right? So then I did that, and then the world fell apart in 2008. So I'd made some money. I think made it, and I'm set, and everything collapses. So I ended up like getting my house foreclosed on. I had my car repossessed. I mean, at the time I married my then, I got engaged and then we got married, and so we were, I don't know, like at a good tens of thousands of dollars in debt when we were married.
Wow.
And not even knowing anything about, wholesaling real estate or investing in real estate. And then I started, that fell out, and then I'm like, well, I still want to be in real estate, so I got my broker's license. And then I spent a year, doing commercial stuff in Stockton, learning about leasing space and management. And then I came and I worked a year at Keller Williams in the residential side. Then I started learning about like how buyers look at deals, right? Through some people over there that helped me. They taught me, how to run a cap rate and how to run a annual operating data, right? So then I started learning about this, and I'm like, okay, I like this language. I can understand. I can speak to other investors. It's not about if the house is pretty, it's the numbers. Like, does this make sense on a return? So I learned that. I learned how to speak the language to other investors. I got on the phone. I cold called. So then I ended up making connections. And then, so I'm still like broke, right? And I know that like my commissions are spread out. And I'm like, well, I need to get some income in between. So I start telling these guys I'll manage the property for them. And so I keep in mind I'm building a business, and like I'm doing this out of my truck. I don't know how to run or manage properties, and I'm starting in the Lowell area. So I'm like on Calaveras, Glen, Bond, in the 702, Chestnut, Olive.
Wow.
I learned in the hood.
Yeah.
I was literally driving around picking up people's rents with like cash, in my truck. Like, thank God
Cash
I never
in
got
one pocket, gun in the other.
I've never carried.
Wow.
And thank God, like I never got messed with. But that that was interesting. So the point is, like I tried so many different things in real estate, and I didn't find my groove until I had enough. And meaning by that, it was like I was tired of being, a servant. You're a servant to your client, right? Because do they want an offer? Do they want to make an offer? When do they want to see this house? Hey, negotiate this, negotiate that. And it was like, wait a second, I could do all this work and nothing ever works out, because so many other people had control of the outcome. The lender, the buyer, the seller, the title company, you name it. The home inspection report, the termite report. One bad thing, it could ruin the whole deal of, in 3 months of work, it falls apart.
Absolutely.
So I'm like, well, how can anyone grow a business this way?
Yeah.
It's totally transactional. I'm chasing the proverbial, deal every time I wake up, and so I'm like, this is not a way to do it. I don't have any money to go buy apartment buildings. So, I remember this in 2010, that's when I first started learning about wholesaling. And I remember that because I'm a big Giants fan, and the Giants won the World Series in 2010. And I remember actually learning about it and started watching people online. It was not as cool and attractive as it is today. Not many people knew about it. I remember having to explain to title companies what I was doing.
Wow.
Explaining to other investors what I was doing. I was doing this wholesale stuff for a while, and it's been interesting. So I find out about wholesaling, right? And then I end up investing in the fortune builders. So I got into fortune builders in 2010.
That's how I started too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was reading someone else's story. I know a good friend of mine, Austin Rutherford, is another guy out of Ohio.
Okay.
That is a fortune builders guy, and he shared a similar story. We both had no money to pay for the mastery fee, and mine was much cheaper. They were only charging $12,000 at the time. Wow. They had just moved from Connecticut to San Diego, and I think they were just starting to. Yep. So yeah, that's the moral of the story, right? Is I tried everything, and I tried to figure out where my unique ability is, where I felt most comfortable, where I thought the biggest opportunity was, and and I just took action, and I figured out a way to make it through having to pay for this mastery. I have to figure it out. I believe in it, and I still do it to this day. I just signed up today for a $65,000 internship program. A mentorship program.
Wow.
I keep pushing the limits because I know that this initial investment that I made here changed my life. So, what's the next level? I want to get into the room with people that are motivating me, that are inspiring me, that are growing at a pace that I'm behind. Yeah.
Wow.
I know we went on 1,500 different tangents there.
I think there's so many good things to take away from that, especially, first of all, from a personal standpoint, I connect with you on so many different levels there, and this is not about me, so I'm not going to go into those things right now. But for our viewers and listeners, I think the number one thing that I take away from everything that I heard you just say and I was writing down is you were active. You were out there figuring out what in the world God wanted you to do on this earth. And it finally was not the first try. It doesn't even sound like it was the 10th try. It was, that try, 6, 7, 8 years down the road where you found out about wholesaling, and you found out about it in a time where no one was doing it. People were looking at you like crazy, and you still said, no, I'm going for this thing. And look at where you're at today. So now I want to just fast forward that to say, now that you've found that thing that you found a passion for in real estate, can you just bring our viewers up to date and just the amount of business that you guys are doing here in the San Joaquin and Central Valley?
Sure. And, I put this out there. It's I give all glory to God. Nothing that I'm blessed with is mine. That's just my feeling about it. And so I like to put that out there. This is not to, I'm not bragging. I'm not a boastful guy. If people that get to know me personally know that sometimes, what is portrayed out there isn't really always the truth. Yeah. And so, the relationships that I have in this business mean everything to me. The friendships that I've made, and I've made a lot of great friendships in this town, and that's what. And my team, I have a good core. We're looking to expand, but it's all the team. It's anyone that thinks that they could get further in life alone is in for a long road. You may be able to be that lone wolf, but you're just going to be miserable and angry and worried the entire time because there's no trust, right? So the people that I do business with, like, we have a trust. And, you know, now it's like, okay, you know, I can put together some strategic partnerships, some strategic alliances, and bring my team into a place where we bring value. And, you know, combined with that, like, yeah, like I said, you know, God's blessed us. Like, you know, we have 60 deals closed that are in the books, and we have another 15 that are slated to close. So we'll have, you know, 75 deals closed by, you know, the halfway point of the year. You know, and if we can continue strong, then we'll get to our goal of, you know, about 150 deals.
Wow.
And
that's amazing. How does that office look? I mean, you know, when I hear 150 deals, I think of, to me, like me being someone who's only closed 2 deals in my short 6 months of being a real estate investor, I think about 150, and my mind can't even wrap my brain around that. So what are the moving parts in that office that allow you to get to that 150?
That's a good question. I mean, anyone that tells you they have a well-oiled machine is not really telling the truth. So we have a lot of, we have bottlenecks, you know, of course, but just like anything, it's your ability to see where the bottleneck is and make adjustments. I mean, I have a great COO and acquisition manager in Chase, and he is really committed. He believes in the vision. Again, it goes back to people, right? I mean, I could put together, you know, policies, practices, and procedures and map it out for you perfectly. But if you don't have the right person in the right seat to execute, then, you know, you've got problems. And so, you know, what we're focusing on is not just, you know, just throwing people into the organization. We're really trying to be selective on who we hire, you know, knowing what seats are available, you know, and so we have, you know, we've got the process flow. Our, you know, calls come in. They're all tracked and managed. We have a great, you know, CRM that allows us to, you know, to clean up the gaps. You know, I tell my guys all the time, you know, in this business, you got to bridge the gap. So the minute that call comes in to when you're able to get the contract signed, it's crucial, right? So depending on the people's motivation and your system and process. So, yeah, I mean, it's still there's still room for improvement, and so, you know, my ideal team looks like, you know, it's not bigger than a 6 or 7 man team.
Wow.
I mean, really, with a transaction coordinator, Chase and myself, I mean, we've had a couple other guys that are in there pulling in some deals, but I mean, we've done that by ourselves, really.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's not like we've got, you know, 10,000 square feet of computers and desks everywhere. I don't think you need to. That's the great thing, is like you could stay really lean and profitable. That's the idea, right?
That's great. That's really great.
So, but, you know, again, there's always bigger and more, and we have to be careful of that because that's not always, the grass isn't always green, you know?
So 2010, you hear about this concept of wholesaling. What grabbed your attention about wholesaling at that time, and you know, just the evolution now, 9 years later, you're still wholesaling. What has been the true power of it that's just made you so passionate about that side of real estate?
Well, I mean, you get excited when it becomes real, right? So your first, you know, check, right? Your first big check, the check that, you know, changes your life. I mean, those are all like great times, right? But it gets old. I'm not going to lie, you know, like we get wires all the time for 25, 20, 15, 10, 15. And sometimes like, I don't even know what deal it came from. And it desensitizes you a little bit to how fortunate we are. I mean, that's a lot of money, right? And so that's life-changing money for some people. But, you know, so you could get desensitized to it and kind of lose, you know, a hold of what you're really doing, and that also your motivation will slowly drift off too, because if you're not motivated by the money anymore and it's coming in, what's going to keep you going, right? I mean, it's a crazy thing to have someone listen to when they haven't made the money. But it's a real thing, because when you start making the money, there's so many other external things that are going to come and really steal from you. You know, your peace of mind. How do you keep this machine going? Hey, I've got tons of marketing dollars out there. When are we going to get the return? I've got payroll. I've got overhead. I've got families that are counting on me. My family. So all of a sudden, you go from, hey, dude, if I can make 20 grand this month, it'd be amazing. If I can make 50 grand, that would be life changing, right? And then now we're like, I need to make 50 grand just to break even.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So it's a different dynamic.
Yeah.
And so you have to make sure you're ready for that. Because it could bury a lot of people if you're blessed with money and you don't know how to use it, and you start mishandling it, or not a good steward of it, it could turn around and actually be a bad thing.
I think if people are really engaged in listening right now, they're hearing a common theme of investing in yourself, investing in your business, and that is a powerful thing in real estate investing. And then someone from my standpoint that still has yet to get a direct mail campaign out there, it's terrifying. Like,
sure.
Direct mail, I'm sure you guys are spending a lot on direct mail every month, but I'm sitting here thinking about this and I'm like, man, how do I get past that fear of, okay, I just got my first deal, I made a check, and I'm supposed to reinvest that back into it? Like, how do I get over that fear?
Well, because and I'll tell you guys this, you're not in the real estate business, you're in the marketing business. I mean, this is a great example of what you're doing here. You're developing this show, and you're putting great content out and providing value. That's amazing, right? I'm totally on board with that. And that's all of us, we have to think. We're entrepreneurs, and we just happen to have houses as our product. So I'm marketing Matt, and Matt Buys Houses, or the Phenom Investor Blueprint, because I believe that I'm a brand too. Like, you're a brand. So we're all in this space, but how do we stand out from our competition? How do we become a local celebrity so that people want to do deals with you, that you're providing value, that you're giving back, that you're helping people level up? That's the fun thing for me now, because the grind of the real estate deals gets a little monotonous. I don't get excited talking about real estate deals. I get excited about stuff like this, and like, hey, how can I help you, shift your mindset? Like you're talking about, dude, I'm having trouble, putting money to that marketing campaign. Well, I would say, dude, your money blueprint's messed up. You're thinking immediately as expense. Like, expense means you lose.
Right.
I think of investment. How much am I going to make on this marketing job? That's the attitude that I work on it, right? It's scary, dude. Trust me, it's scary. But we have to continue to forward think. We have to continue to grow, because if we're not growing, we're dying.
Yep.
And there's guys like me and someone else out there, or someone else that is in constant growth mode. And so not only are we going to surpass you, you're not going to even be relevant.
Well, you're either winning or learning. And honestly, selfishly, the reason that I started this is not even from a marketing standpoint. It's the opportunity to sit down with people like you and learn this business faster.
Sure.
And so I think, first of all, even though I only asked a few questions, you gave so many amazing nuggets that I just want to go ahead and kind of wrap this up for this episode, and also tease everyone to the next episode, where if you want to learn exactly what Matt sees is the power of wholesaling and how you can maybe even get involved with what Matt is doing, you need to check out the second episode. We're going to talk all about wholesaling, how it works, how to do it in your market. But Matt, if people want to get connected with you right now, what is the best way for them to do that?
Connecting on Instagram at the Phenom Investor Blueprint. Just shoot me a DM. You can send me an email. It's Matt, M-A-T-T, at phenominvestor.com. Facebook, Matt Garabedian and Guyane Garabedian. That's my wife. We have a joint Facebook page. I think that's plenty of ways to get a hold of me.
I'd say just go to that Instagram, direct message him. He's good about getting back to you. Again, that's at the Phenom Investor Blueprint.
Yeah.
And that is awesome. Any imparting advice for our listeners or viewers?
Yeah, I would say, drown out all the noise. You're only in competition with yourself. So it doesn't matter what I'm doing, what Kyle's doing, what your neighbor's doing, what the biggest, baddest investor in the world's doing. None of that matters. And, just stay focused. Stay focused on what you want. Get crystal clear on what you want. And then put your head down and don't stop till you get there. And you'll surprise yourself of just how quickly you do get there and surpass that goal. And it's all about self-belief, focus, and commitment.
Invest in yourself, drown out the noise, focus, and soon you can be conquering real estate investing. Guys, I really just want you to take away from what Matt said here. It's about activity, it's about investing in yourself, and it doesn't take this ginormous team to do the level of activity that Matt is doing. It just takes systems, it takes the right people, it takes filtering out the bad stuff, bringing in the good. And so if you can just do that, if you can focus on what your method is, what your comfort zone is, and honestly continue to expand that comfort zone through things like what Matt's doing, you too can conquer real estate investing. And so I just want to remind you that you can go to fearlessflipping.com/Matt Buys Houses if you want to learn more about Matt, if you want to check out his courses. They're awesome. You will gain a ton of knowledge from them. But at the same time, I just want you to make sure to go back and check out these show notes so you can digest everything again. And make sure you check into episode number 2 when Matt dives into how to wholesale, the ins and outs, the whole thing. So make sure you go do that, and you too, pretty soon, you will conquer real estate investing.